My dear friends, this is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I'd like to continue on with the 31 days of cop films and gangster films discussion, and that is discussions on films from these genres, I should say, from the years 1970 to the present. So as I've mentioned before, I admit that is a wide expanse of years. However, what I also hope is the case is that that also provides an opportunity to enjoy the selection process, because hopefully that means a lot of films to potentially choose from in each respective genre. For purposes of today, or specifically this video, I'd like to focus in on the gangster film genre. And for that purpose, I have selected a film which and I know many other people regard as being a really fine classic from a great filmmaker. And it has a wonderful cast with a powerful and very multi-dimensional lead performance from the main performer, and I'll get to that momentarily, those details momentarily. This is a really splendid work. Again, it can be described as a film that is operating quite comfortably and also quite effectively within the gangster film genre universe. This is a work from, described as being from 1980, and it has in its really great cast people like Buck Henry and John Adams and Julie Carmen, and it stars Gena Rowlands. And this is from the great filmmaker John Cassavetes. I'm speaking of this film, which is Gloria. Gloria. Gena Rowlands stars as Gloria, and here she is magnetic, and she is absolutely sensational, as she always is. But here she has a type of phenomenal, exceptional quality that is, as I say, as exhibited in all of her performances. But of course, her performance as Gloria, the main character here, is another shining example of this. She plays the character of Gloria, who, through a series of circumstances that are introduced very early on, is coming into contact with and forms a relationship, a type of emergency type of relationship, a relationship on the run, as it were, with a young boy. And this young boy, Phil, the character Phil and Gloria are, as I say, through a set of circumstances, find themselves together. And whether they want to or not, they find themselves together and on the run, because, again, with those circumstances, what we also understand is the gangsters, the mob, are after them for one reason or another. They're after this young boy for one reason or another that we understand from events very early on in the film, and also through a series of revelations and machinations, we also understand that the Gena Rowlands character Gloria is also embroiled in this particular plot, thus leading the way for what could be said to be a gangster film in that way. And perhaps more specifically, our main characters are on the run from the gangster or mob character's threat that is imposed upon them. It is a life and death situation. It is very serious. It is very grave. And this sets the stage in a really quite remarkable and in many ways also enchanting way. This sets the stage for a number of things. First of all, we have this great, very sincere and quite intimately involving relationship setup that is presented vis-a-vis the relationship between the young boy and Gloria. And so this is perhaps, it could be said to be the most important relationship in the film. It is through the plot circumstances of them finding themselves together, as I say, at first, whether they like it or not. Gradually, we realize that a bond forms between them, and that bond is, again, the maybe the central core. It is the soul of the film. It is where the film, I think, can succeed or fall. And my goodness, it succeeds. Because this bond, this relationship between these characters, as so represented and so well presented by these performances, this bond between these characters is very, very critical and crucial and very warm and very close indeed. And the way that it leads to that particular area of warmth, with all the challenges, with all the setbacks that also appear, as I say, as a result of the plot progressions forward, that core dynamic relationship becomes, I think, such an important way for us, the viewer, to really sympathize and empathize and really follow and want to root for our main characters here, including, of course, the namesake of the film, Gloria. Speaking of which, too, we have the another great performance from Jenna Rollins. Her performance here as Gloria is filled with surprises. It has this feeling of almost world weariness, without necessarily showing it on one sleeve type of showiness to it. It doesn't have that showiness at all. It is very reserved and modest when it needs to be, but then when it comes out in terms of type of explosive bursts of, say, self-protection or self-defense or self-preservation, or indeed maybe bursts of anger or violence too, when necessary, again, when the plot requires it or demands it, it shows with such a really poetic combination of ferocity and grace. And that, I think, is a really prime example of just how brilliant Jenna Rollins is in this role, and indeed in all the roles that she has inhabited. In particular, we have the great personal and professional relationship that she, of course, has with John Cassavetes. And so here we have, again, a John Cassavetes work with Jenna Rollins as the star, and my goodness, she shines. Oh my goodness, does she shine? She shines and then some. And when she reveals to the young boy, and thus to us, little bits of information about who she is, where she has come from, who she knows, and the connections that she has too, which may or may not be important for purposes of the plot propulsion forward. When she reveals this, it feels so earned, and it feels so well delivered, and it feels so much part of the organic, naturally growing landscape of the world that we see growing before us as the film's running time progresses. So this is, I think, a remarkable feat, and her characterization is strong. It's willing. It's also very, very smart and very clever. It's also a character that is vulnerable, but even in the face of such vulnerability, or despite such vulnerability, or perhaps to be more specific, even notwithstanding the fact that there are other external characters out there in the cruel world that might be wanting to exploit the vulnerabilities of characters like Gloria, she still manages to maintain her sense of self, her sense of dignity, self-worth, and also that extends to the people that she comes to care for over the course of the film. And that leads us back in a lovely circular way, I think, to the importance of that key relationship between her and the young boy. So that, I think, that is another great strength of this film. It is a great strength of the John Cassavetes, Jenna Rollins relationship and collaboration overall. And here's yet another great example of that. Now, also, we have John Cassavetes at the helm, and in terms of the story, and also named as director. And so we have here, too, the way in which his camera seems to be capturing little moments or details or seemingly mundane things that are actually so valuable and so filled with a type of wealth of information about who these characters are and the world that they inhabit. and little gestures, or I might use the word little. I should really take that back. I mean, minute gestures, gestures that are very fine tuned, and yet everything is to serve the plot or to serve the organic nature of how these characters are living in this world. So there is a sense of the real growth and dynamic of the characterizations and how that is preserved via the great cinema of John Cassavetes, including, of course, the main character of Gloria, and what it is that she shows and she either reveals or hides, or depending on the particular situation. That is all to serve not just the plot, but also the continuity of character. And I think that's one of the great strengths, obviously, of the works of John Cassavetes, and it shines through here, while at the same time, while at the same time being a really thoroughly entertaining film that is about gangsters, that is about the threat of the mob, and about how there are innocent victims to the really nasty and very cold and cruel acts that we see, or that the film implies is what's happening within this world. And so this is also to say that this is a film that is also very much so a work of real sheer intense entertainment, very suspenseful, and it's very much it has this deep, heavy quality to it as well. And I think that deep heaviness is due to the way in which the story is able to capture the the real danger and the cruelty of the world that we have. I mean, after all, one of the main characters is a child, a young boy, and we also understand very, very early on that this is a world being depicted in this film. This is a world that whose cruelty is non-discriminate. It can attack the adults. It also could have, as the cruelties victims can be also children and families. And so this adds a sense of tension. This adds a sense of risk. This also adds a sense of, as I say, heaviness to the work, which serves the film so well, because what we are dealing with is a film about relationship, about characters that are caught in a very extreme set of circumstances, but also we realize that there is a threat, there are consequences, and sometimes those consequences can mean either life or death. And but at the same time, I think the story is done in a very I think it's done in a very tasteful fashion. It's done in a way that is also recognizing this is a work of cinema. This is therefore a work of entertainment from certain levels of perspective and perception, while at the same time being an exercise, a great grand artistic exercise in the works of John Cassavetes, which, as we know, is one that always values what has as among its bedrock principles the idea of the natural organic nature of how these characters are operating within this world. And you set up all those parameters, and you have this great grand work that is also operating too as this almost a high-paced, well, really excellently paced suspense gangster film, or characters on the run, as it were, with certain connections that we see revealed along the way in terms of how those characters are related back to these mob characters, or the mob presence that is after them for certain reasons that I say are revealed early on in the context of the plot. So this is to say, ultimately, that Gloria, this film Gloria, is a magnificent work. It feels really organic and well deserved, and also it feels very much. It feels very much like a suspense work. It feels very much like it is a suspense work, a truly tense, almost action-paced film, which is also at the same time preserving the room for the characters to grow and to act and to interact with and among each other. That feels not forced, but on the contrary, very much organic and natural. And that is also, it's a remarkable thing too, where you have all these components combined and serving the film, serving the plot, and it feels like the trajectory of the film, it goes in such a great trajectory. that you're along for the ride every step of the way, from the very beginning all the way up to the end. And those beats of human emotion, the guidance of, say, warmth and connection, I think it really helped to shine this film that is filled with so many shining things, such as the performance of Jenna Rollins and company, and also the work of John Cassavetes. So, won't you join me in discussing and indeed celebrating this work from John Cassavetes, excuse me, starring Jenna Rollins from 1980. This is, of course, that great work which is Gloria. Okay, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very, very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.